evening and namaste. You're watching Fiji Village Trade Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is the Leader of Opposition, Inia Seruiratu. As promised, thank you very much, sir, for coming back in our studios.
Thank you, Vijay.
And there's been, first of all, a lot of questions that have come through and a lot of comments where people are saying we are happy that the Leader of Opposition is willing to come on the show, and a change as far as compared to the past, the former Fiji First, where the former Fiji First was not coming to the show leading up to the 2022 elections. I just want to give you a feedback from the people.
Thank you.
That what makes you come on the show now compared to before?
Thank you, Vijay. Let me first thank you for this opportunity. It is important for us as a group representing the people in Parliament. And of course, it's important for all Fijians as well. I always believe in dialogue and engagement because we are critical to the democratic process. And with dialogue and engagement, we are able to listen, and at the same time, we are able to convey messages as well. And of course, be in a better position as well to represent people, particularly within the floor of Parliament. So, thank you for the feedbacks. We appreciate both the negative and the positive feedbacks because it's good for our development and for taking us forward as well.
What is different now with the opposition that you lead?
I think I'm consistent from the very beginning. When I took over the leadership as leader of the opposition, I stated that I want to rebrand the opposition. And that is not easy. It does take time. We are so used to a culture under the recent leadership previously, but we've learned good things from that as well. But for us, it's more of a very democratic process within. There's a lot of discussions, there's a lot of debates within, there's a lot of dialogue when it comes to the issues that are before us. And of course, we come to consensus as well, agreeing on the issues or otherwise. So it's a very free, open environment where there is a lot of listening and dialogue. And of course, healthy debates too within.
You've been traveling as part of official delegations now. The Prime Minister even openly says that I'll get the Leader of Opposition on board to travel in the COP meeting and things like that, and ensuring that people are represented. Where have you been traveling to and what have you achieved?
Particularly, thank you, Vijay, for the question. It's about assisting government in our representation, particularly in the regional forums and of course in multilateral bodies as well. If you look into the recent policy on Fiji's foreign policy white paper, it talks about Fiji's foreign policy is strengthened by its representation in regional bodies and in multilateralism as well. It's a force multiplier. And for us, I'm thankful to government for considering our offer initially. Remember way back in 2022, after the elections, when we first met in February 2023, we did offer our assistance to government. We have been into governments previously, served as ministers with the international exposure, and we hope that that experience and knowledge that we have gained can be put to good use. Fiji's reputation in the global forums is quite, there's a lot of expectations, but there's an article yesterday probably that we are beginning to lose that. That is a challenge for the government and for all of us, including those in the opposition as well, to make sure that we represent government to the highest level of expectation. And I've been involved in Interparliamentary Union meetings that takes place twice in a year in the Pacific Islands Parliamentary Group as well. So more about the role of Parliament in terms of effective legislations, creation of bodies to oversee the implementation of the legislations that are made, the role of Parliament in terms of scrutiny and oversight. This is good for our democracy in the long term. And of course, in international forums, I was a former climate champion during Fiji's presidency for 2 years, global climate champion. So I have a bit of knowledge and experience in COP processes. And at the same time, in the UNGA, again, multilateral body, we have high hopes in multilateralism. I was representing Fiji as well in support of His Excellency the President in the last UNGA. So, but let me say that I'm not there as an opposition member. I'm there for Fiji. And that's important. People sort of have different perceptions on it. I've also been accused for being, working very closely with government, but that's all about Fiji, and we are here to serve the country. So that's the travels and the justification, Vijay.
So you're saying you're not sold out by the trips?
No. I have a role to play, and I maintain my level of integrity and professionalism when it comes to issues. But at the same time, in those forums, I do raise my voice as well when it comes to advice. I don't withhold any information or whatever to government, because it's a better for Fiji. I am not sold out. I am myself, and I will maintain that level of professionalism and integrity for Fiji.
Attempts are still underway to revive the former Fiji First. Would you rejoin it and return and be ready to take it to the next elections if that happens?
That is an interesting question, and of course we as members of the group of 16 within the opposition now, we eagerly await the continuation of that appeal process that was raised by the Honorable Alvik Maraj. We know that what is pending now is the appointment of an EC chair, Electoral Commission chair, so that the continuation of the appeal process, the hearing, can proceed. Again, we will await the outcome of that, but at the same time, we are looking at options as well, because time is flying and we are approaching 2026. How long this is going to drag on for, we do not know, but then we will have to seriously consider all our options, and whether that appeal will succeed, God knows. But then the other question, if it does succeed, what does it take to rectify the issues that were raised by the supervisor of elections, particularly concerning disciplinary issues and party structure and leadership and its own processes.
Because you wouldn't want that same structure, and it won't work anyway. With the previous former Fiji First Constitution stated that there were some life members who belonged there just by the virtue of like the Prime Minister, the Attorney General and others. And even you, when you became the leader of opposition, you were not part of a committee that was set up, right? So you definitely would want, if there is a setup, a new setup, all of that has to go.
With all due respect to the previous leader and the founding members of Fiji First Party, they had reasons behind such a structure and the constitution. But for us, definitely we are a new team, and there are things that we learn from the old setup that we have, and of course we will need to improve on that and make things easier for us in terms of way forward, and have a very simple command structure that is effective and efficient and takes into consideration the principles of democratic governance, which should be first alive within a party itself. And I think on constitutional issues as well, we were quite worried when we looked at the Fiji First Constitution and what Section 2 of the 2013 Constitution says. Anything that is inconsistent with the provisions of the 2013 Constitution is invalid to the level of inconsistency. There were some inconsistencies in our Constitution which probably makes us invalid. Those are the things that needs to be addressed.
From 2014, this constitution for the former Fiji First existed, which kept the power within a few. From 2014, when the Fiji First contested the elections right up to 2022, it was clear that the decision making was just within a few. How was the process then? Because I mean, at that time, and even people say now, we have received questions. Even at times, the current government makes comments. Oh, we used to be ruled by, used to be under two-man rule by Nimarama and Said Kiu for over 16 years. What can you say to these people, knowing that you were part of this then, and what is different now?
Definitely, Vijay, nobody is going to deny that I was a part of it. But the good thing now is, over time and the experiences that we went through, the past cannot be undone, but we can influence the future. And that is exactly what we aim to do for the betterment of the party itself and for ease of governance and leadership as well. Again, as I say, we all have different leadership styles, and we are a new team, and we have our own views as well, learning from the past. But it's time to move on.
I'm sure, we'll move on, but I'm sure, and based on the questions that have been sent, was there any time that where you locked horns with Ayar Said Kayubo or Bainimarama regarding issues, contentious issues where you did not see eye to eye, knowing that I know you are very principled in terms of some of the issues. As you said, you're doing that right now.
Vijay, we all raise our issues. But then when you are part of an institution, when you are part of an organization, it's the leadership that makes the final decision. And once those decisions are made, that's it. Whoever makes the decision will be accountable, will be responsible for it. Your job is to provide the advice. We have provided the advice. And such is how the game is played.
And that's why you said when you came into the leadership, you decided to rebrand yourself.
That's something that, having been observing even how the opposition conducts itself in Parliament, and even us as a party, when we were in government or since our establishment, for me, that was something that I was keen to bring, rebranding, so that we can have an image that will attract, that will entice people, and make sure that we still abide by the principles that we believe in, and the values, of course, so that...
How is the setup of, you have the opposition group of 16 independents that you lead, and a group of 9 independents. How is that working?
We are all learning. This is something that is new, perhaps to Fiji and the Parliament. And we just need to adjust, we just need to adapt and go with the provisions that are available, not only in the 2013 Constitution, the standing orders of Parliament as well, and of course what's allowed in the provisions of the Political Parties Conduct, Funding and Disclosures Act. As I've stated, we are all learning. We are independent members, and the 16 of us, less Honorable Alvik Maharaj, because his status is still hanging there because of his appeal, and then the 9 for independent members who were part of the Fiji First previously, they have opted and indicated that they will support the Prime Minister, not the party, not the coalition government, but they will provide support to the Prime Minister. So that is how things go now. We are still both oppositions. In the allocation of committee membership, we share the committee membership allocations to the opposition, and of course for other requirements when it comes to members of Parliament on a parliamentary tour. So the allocation that is given to the opposition is shared between us. We are still on speaking terms, but they have indicated, you will see from the debate in Parliament, they speak against some of the government policies, whatever, but in the end, they will still vote. That's what I've seen so far. They still vote in favor of government has put on the floor, but of course supporting the Prime Minister.
What did they say to you when they decided to go in another direction, the group of 9, knowing that you are the opposition leader and the 16 are with you, but what did the 9 say to you, why they taking the other direction?
There was no discussion. They just decided. Over the weekend, it caught me by surprise as well. We were having some serious discussions about us as a group of 26 members after the events in which Speaker ruled against our seizing our membership of Parliament. Everything were normal, but all of a sudden they have decided to show support to the Honourable Prime Minister. We did not discuss that even till today. There was no discussion. But as allowed for, as I have stated previously, as allowed for in the Constitution, when you are deregistered, you have 2 options. 1, you remain as independent member of Parliament. Or 2, you join a political party. So for them, they have indicated that they will remain independent, but instead of joining the other political parties that are within the coalition, they have just opted to provide support to the Prime Minister. So that's how the opposition is functioning today.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
For the night. Oh no, no Chris, VVS, oh yes,
Wait, where am I?
Oh, you died, bro.
I'm dead? But why?
Gori, that's what happens when you change your playlist when you're driving?
Crashed.
What? No, this can't be happening. I had so much left to do in life. All I do is stare at my phone because I'm Gen Z and we're all anti-social. And I wish I did so much, but... By the way, do you guys have Wi-Fi up here?
This is why you should have listened to F96 Drive. Shouldn't let them play the music.
And you just drive.
No! I can't believe this is happening. It wasn't
When you're
even
done,
my car and I didn't have
Hell is
car
that way,
insurance.
eh?
Wait, what?
About 20 years ago, we had a major drug bust, and you would remember, you would have been part of the operations at Laudala Beach. A lot of people in Fiji did not know what was methamphetamine. And what we are picking up on, people are saying it's readily available. Just the issue in relation to General Secretary, was that a tactical move that he ejected himself from Parliament?
Personally, it's unfortunate.
How are you dealing with those police officers who may be allegedly involved in this?
No one is above the law.
We assure you that we will be having police officers around.
As a result of that bad policy, by the end of this month, we would have lost close to about $70 million in government revenue.
Bula Vinaka, I am Vijay Narayan. This is Fiji Village Straight Talk.
Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Watch it live on the Fiji Village Facebook page and YouTube channel.
आप देख रहे हैं इसी संडास जो हमारे सुपरस्टार प्रश अभी आकर इस्तेमाल करेगा किसी वक्त अभी लो आ गया सुपरस्टार प्रश
Not following me
again. Sir, जनता जानना चाहते हैं sir. अगर जनता जानना चाहते हैं sir. Are the rumors true, sir? Hopefully. Bye. Sir, एक अब आप देख रहे हैं डॉक्टर के स्टूडियो में हम भर चुके हैं जेसिका जी जेसिका जनता जानना चाहते हैं जेसिका जनता जानना चाहते हैं कि आप कौन सी मेकअप लगाते हैं
आज मैंने तो कोई मेकअप नहीं लगाया
लगता है लगा ले
How dare you DEA
तो आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ एसएन का गाड़ी पड़ा है काफी गर्जी है लेकिन एसेंस साहब एसेंस सर अमेरिका से आए हुए हैं सर अमेरिका का जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर आप हमेशा काला चश्मा क्यों पहनते हैं सर
तो सफेद चश्मा कहाँ मिली सफेद चश्मा देखा कहीं तुम
तुकता काय को है
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is the Leader of Opposition, Inia Seruiratu. Mr. Seruiratu, who is the opposition's nominee for President?
Thank you, Vijay. You have asked me once, and a lot of people are asking me the same question, but unfortunately, I've decided to keep it confidential, and that is the promise that I've made to our nominee, and I will ask for your patience. Tomorrow, it will be announced on the floor of Parliament. But we do have a nominee.
Different nominee?
We have a different nominee.
It's not Ratunenga Malalam Balau? No. That's my next question. So you don't support him to be nominated as president?
Not really, but I am just utilizing to the best of our opportunity under the Constitution. Section 84 of the Constitution, I think 84A, allows for the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition to nominate names for the position of presidency. So for us from the group of 16, we want to offer an alternative, something that government needs to consider. And probably it's a message too to all of us that we are replaceable. So it's good in well-functioning democracies to provide alternatives. And for us as an alternative government, we want to provide an alternative candidate as well.
People are calling for the withdrawal. You would have seen the comments made, withdrawal of a nomination by the PM of Ratunengama, saying because of the involvement in the events of 2000, him being convicted of unlawful assembly at the Sukanai Valu barracks in 2000, his suspension from Parliament, comments regarding the late former Speaker, Dr. Chikulu Veni, and recent comments about Ali Kimia, the opposition parliamentarian. What are your thoughts on that?
I have read all those comments, Vijay, but for me, I'm looking into the future. Wisdom tells me that I have to be very careful, excuse me, with the statements that I make, because who knows, we might be in government again, and we might have to come up with some names that probably do fall under the same category as well. But again, looking at the Constitution, I think 83 E, that's all about the past, and it allows for people to be considered. 83 specifically describes the criteria, the qualifications for the office of the president, and
you're treading very carefully there.
I'm treading very carefully.
As a leader of opposition.
As the leader of the opposition. Because, again, tomorrow, this is one of the reasons why in Parliament, this is only put up as a motion, not debated, but voted. Because we don't want to hear sensitivities. I know that this was the reason behind why it's drafted as such in the Constitution. That's going to be the highest office of the land. And, it's not good to be debated. But of course, we all have our past. I have my past, you have your past. Prime Minister has his past. Ratunengama has his past. But this is about tomorrow. He has shown a willingness to serve. But for me, the responsibility should be on the appointing authority. It's government that has to take responsibility. they should have exercised wisdom as well in their consideration before they put up their nominee. And the responsibility, you should ask the Prime Minister.
I'm asking you, do you believe they did? As the leader of the opposition, you should have a stand.
I don't believe they did. I don't believe they did. To be honest with you, we came across a few names in our deliberation. I told you, we are now a fully functioning democratic party.
And when you say we, you're talking about the group of 16?
The group of 16. Ratu Nengama's name was there. Ratu William's name was there. But we discussed all the pros and cons of it. I'm close to Ratu Nengama. Excuse me, I served as Commissioner Northern. Same with Ratu William. But when it comes to the selection, you have to rise another level. Look at it from a different lens and then guide the caucus. I guided the caucus. We had some full discussion. And then we came up with that alternative name.
And all 16 agreed to that?
All agreed.
You said, I asked you tread carefully because you said something, who knows when you're in government one day. Are you concerned if you do say something about someone who's about to become the president and he's sitting on the other side, he or she is sitting on the other side, and you sit as the Prime Minister and you have to act on something after an advice for the President to endorse? Are you worried that there may be some repercussions if you said something which may not be appropriate?
I'm particularly referring to, the previous convictions and whatever. Again, your conduct of the past. I think the Constitution allows for, everybody has to be given a second chance, like the prisoners. And I think that's why that was in Section 83E of the Constitution.
Which the Prime Minister also highlighted.
He highlighted. That's a very legalistic approach. That's a legalistic approach. But, some people say that not everything that's legal is correct. Not everything that is legal is just. Not everything that is legal is moral. So, they are taking a very legalistic approach, but then there are other things that you need to consider as well. That's the wisdom I'm talking about.
Now, what are your comments as opposition leader on what has been labelled as the Speaker's derogatory and discriminatory comments against opposition MP Ali Kimia, where he was even told, and this is from Hansard, to make up his mind whether they want to be Fijians or want to go back to the Solomons, because he will not sit here and listen to all these diatribes going on that they have all been mistreated. What is your stand as the leader of opposition?
Thank you, Vijay. After the event in the next city, I approached Honorable Ali Kimia as well, just to, after hearing and listening to and seeing the developments that occurred after that incident. But you will very well understand that Parliament decides on how it conducts its own activities, and there are guidelines, and Speaker's decisions cannot be challenged. So I consulted Ali Kimia in trying to provide him some advice, and I did advise the honourable member that probably it's better that in a very open dialogue approach, if he can approach the Honourable Speaker, he can even write to the Honourable Speaker or approach the Honourable Speaker, discuss the issue about him, because from me, I was telling the Honourable Member, while the Speaker has a role, a responsibility, and we cannot question his, but on the other hand, one of the key functions of Parliament also, apart from legislative work, is representation. We are there representing the people. So if there was misunderstanding in his role as a representative of the Melanesian community, and the background behind him raising those issues, it would have been best for him to approach the Honorable Speaker and have a very honest one-on-one discussion with him so that there can be better understanding and perhaps lead to some reconciliation or whatever on it as well.
What was his reaction?
He readily accepted the advice, and but how he decides to approach, I'm not sure whether he has done that, but of course he does listen and appreciate the advice that we give as well.
What is your stand on the current constitution? Things like even the common name for everyone, all citizens of the country to be Fijian, which is in the constitution, has also been suggested strongly in the National Defence and Security Review for real unity. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you, Vijay. I hope that there can be such a thing as a perfect constitution. I was there at the FNU in Nasino when Professor Regan did talk about the 2013 Constitution and the merits and or otherwise the flaws, and so it would be good to have a perfect constitution. But of course there are some good things in the 2013 Constitution. That Fijian name, I for one wouldn't want that change if there comes a time where we will have to decide on the 2013 Constitution. There are some good things in that Constitution, but there are some probably that needs to be reviewed as well. Again, for us, we have been discussing as how we will approach this when it does come into Parliament as a caucus straight after that presentation by Professor Regan in FNU. But this is what I have just stated lately, and unfortunately not everything that I had in that article was printed. I talked about the reconciliation process and the Constitution as well, linking that to the Constitution. But I talked about the politics of a revolution, because this is what I want to say. Our problem is not in the Constitution, that's according to me. Our problem is in the political leadership. We had the 1970 Constitution with the entrance clause that safeguarded the case, but we still went ahead with the takeover of government. 1997 Constitution was even a better Constitution according to Professor Regan. It went through the process, the contents, everything, tick in the box, good Constitution. But what happened in 2000? We had a good election. We did not accept the election result. So what's wrong? Is it the Constitution? It's the leadership, it's the political leadership. And that's the issue that we need to address.
I'll ask you about the common name again. You made a very clear stand that you will fight for that to be maintained. Why?
For me, it's unifying. That sense of belonging behind the name, that spirit of oneness and unity. So that is why I like the name. I like the name. Because for me, it is a unifying factor. Because, in organizations, involvement brings commitment. So we identify ourselves in that name. And that brings us together. We just need to set the direction and put the structures and the processes in place, and we will be Fiji the way the world should be.
There's a lot of argument about this very issue on whether other people who are non-Itokei should be called Fijian. You've been in the setup. 2006 coup, you're part of the military. Eventually you came out and you took up government positions and eventually came into the political setup. What are your thoughts on that? Because this is quite an argument that has been going for some time.
Perhaps the Truth and Reconciliation will help us come to a more acceptable solution when we come to it. I was part of the 1987 coup. I was there as an officer cadet. I was there also in 2000.
You believed
I was there in 2006. I was there in a very young, innocent officer cadet. You know, I've seen what we went through in all these events. But for me, like I've said, you know, these are the issues that has been on the table since, and I hope that with that name in the 2013 Constitution, it will be a good unifying factor for all of us.
We'll talk about the military in a second, after the break most likely. I had the Minister for Home Affairs, Pio Tikondondua, one of his former colleagues in the army as well, who sat right across me and talked about, he was also involved in the coups and even in relation to directives or orders of senior officers. And that it's easy to say that you can say between lawful and unlawful. It's an interesting point. You said 87 is a young officer, innocent, but what, just merely following orders at the time? What, 2000? Both. For you?
For me? Yes, exactly. You know, you have to understand military life. You know, what is leadership, what is command, what is authority. There are,
so even
these are all different definitions.
So even
but then, let me say,
to take over government,
Vijay, you know, I admit we follow blindly, you know. But then, as you become experienced, of course, with the knowledge and the training and whatever, and the seniority that comes with the ranks as well, the proper training. And then you begin to realize, you know, the ways that you have took, and that positions you to appreciate and, you know, set the foundation for the future, which is the only thing that you can influence. Unfortunately, we have this shameful record of the past. So it's the future that we all need to look into and
learn from it and move on.
Learn from the past and look at how we can have that preferred future for every Fijian.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Demis, sa mama na lima?
Bebe, kenapa? Gol.
Oh my gosh! Oh, what's in the box?
You're probably wondering, what's in the box? Well, if you must know, it's actually me. Before you call the police, I'm actually an app. The all-new Fiji Village app. Here's an update. See what I did there? I gave you an update. What's new? Well, for starters, I look different. My new layout also comes with stories if you're looking for something short and sweet. I will bring you the latest news on the dot so you stay updated. You're welcome. You don't have to go anywhere for content because I bring the content to you. Not only can you listen to your favorite radio stations, you can also watch online video content. Which reminds me, do you love sports? Well, guess what? With the Fiji Village app, you can stay up to date with your favorite sports and scoreboards, no matter where you are. Your #1 news website just got better with an app. Download and get updated now.
Watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan, our guest tonight, leader of the opposition, Inia Seruiratu. And as we say, this show focuses on accountability, transparency, and the people willing to come forward and speak to you directly based on your questions as well, and the issues that matter to you. Thank you very much for sending in your questions, and you can continue to send them to Vijay Narayan at fm96.com.fj. Even if you have any proposals on what guests you like on the show to pose questions to, we are also welcome to that idea. And you can also call us on 3314-766-9923351 or 7734-766. Mr. Seruiratu, we talked about the military, and let's talk about the National Security and Defence Review Report done by a very experienced former senior military officer who was part of the 1987 Royal Fiji Military Forces, and he was also a victim of the 87 coup, left after that, the coup led by the then third in command, Mr. Sitiveni Rambuka, who is now the Prime Minister of the country. Now, serious issues about trust were raised in the report. Trust in the army by the public, trust in the police, and trust in the government institutions. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you, Vijay. First, let me join others who have acknowledged the National Security and Defence Review Report. Unfortunately, I was not here and I could not attend the launching of the report, but I have made attempts to get copies, at least for me, and the caucus from the Office of the Minister for Home Affairs and Immigration. I have a copy now. I have not gone through the whole report. And of course, I've made attempts to talk to the editorial I don't know what he's responsible for the editorial component, Professor Satish Chand of Australia. We had some good discussions, and I have asked, and I will follow that through with the Honourable Minister as well, if the National Defence and Review Committee can provide a briefing to the members of the opposition. Reason being, in most countries, when it comes to key documents, and this being one, defense, because the national security strategy is going to be an outcome of the report that's before us. Usually there's a bipartisan approach to this, because this will involve a lot of commitments, funding in the long term, and it would be good for us to be in it as well. When it comes to the issue of trust, not only, I think it's not only about the RFMF and the police, but almost in every government institutions as well. My simple question, my simple answer is, this is a governance issue. And I'm not saying that it's a problem now in this government. This has been there for quite a while, and I admit even during our time as well. But what are we going to do about it? We can go and point back at those that have served previously, including our 2 terms in government. But of course, the responsibility now lies squarely within the influence and control of the current coalition government, and of course, the ministry responsible. I've stated that it's a simple governance issues for 2 reasons. In well-functioning democracies, Vijay, good governance is sourced in each political leadership. I'll repeat that. Good governance is sourced in each political leadership. It's the political leadership that must create the environment for good governance. That comes through effective legislations. So it's not only about having good laws, but then we have to have strategies and policies in place, implementing bodies, allocation of funding, and of course lay down the processes and systems as well. And when processes and systems are laid, then we have to ensure that we have a strict commitment to the upholding of the rule of law, and of course also ensuring that we respect due processes and systems. The other thing is the second layer of good governance is in an effective and efficient civil service, and this is something that I'm glad that it's highlighted in the National Defense and Review Report as well, and public administration. That's the role of the permanent secretaries, the deputy secretaries, the directors, and everyone in the organization. We have responsibilities within the machineries of government, but for us to address that element of trust, first, I would say, government, the political leadership needs to create the environment and lead by example when it comes to upholding and respect the rule of law. Not only selectively doing so when it suits you best. National interest must be above party and personal interest and so forth. And likewise, every civil servant, I've talked about strategic pragmatism. We have to be strategic in the way we approach things, but we have to be pragmatic as well in our application. We have some very good laws in Fiji. We have some very good policies, but it's not given the resources. The body that is supposed to implement it is not fully equipped. They lack the capacities, maybe the capabilities. This is the responsibility of the government. We expect a lot from them, but we have to commit to it as well. And it's the individual, it's the attitude. When we observe this, then we will gain the confidence of the people. And then trust is something that is earned. When we implement this, then definitely we will gain the confidence of the people, and we will begin to build this trust.
In your statement, you said we've been independent for 54 years. We've got our own fair share of political upheavals, and you questioned why. One of the things you also said, the culture of convenience, about certain people using institutions like the military, and then the soldiers or individuals become mere pawns. You've been in the RFMF. Can you shed light on that, what you mean by that?
In fact, Vijay, the article that was published last week, was it? Yeah. I titled it Politics of a Revolution. Because this is what I want to say. In all revolutions, politics is the objective. Military is the means. I was a defending officer for the CRW soldiers when we had the court-martial in 2004, 2005. And when it comes to the mitigation stage of the court-martial proceedings, I pleaded with the panel of judges. We should let these soldiers free because they've served almost 2 years in custody. But where are the politicians? Where are the politicians behind these soldiers? If you have been reading Jonathan's, following Jonathan's article on Land 77, on his interview with Anish Chand, he just stopped short of mentioning names of politicians who were waiting in the hotel for them to, but they did not come in. That's the politics of a revolution. Politics is the objective. Military is the means. And that is why, unfortunately, people have lost trust in the RFMF. People have lost confidence and trust in the Fiji police force, apart from other things. And this is a leadership problem as well, and the leadership has to fix this. Whoever is in leadership, in the police force, in the RFMF, thank General Kaluniwai for what he's doing, and thank Minister for the reset and whatever. That's the responsibility of the leadership. But then, if we look at, again, our past events, this is why I'm saying, let's do the truth and reconciliation correctly. Because there's a lot of reconciliation going on by the RFMF. I appreciate that. I've spoken to the team that's responsible. But I am challenging them. Are you going to tell the truth? Are you going to tell the truth? Only then, when we have done the right things in the truth aspect of the truth and reconciliation process, and then we can start looking at other big issues. Because we have to put this to rest, Vijay. That's my main argument. People have sought forgiveness, but what haunts them is they have not revealed the truth. Let's reveal the truth so that we can set a new direction for Fiji. That is why I was saying, unfortunately, the RFMF has been branded negatively. Likewise, Fiji Police Force and other institutions when it comes to trust.
You're saying RFMF was used as the means for this group of individuals?
Yes.
Now, you were there as a young officer in '87, as you said. You did not know who was really behind, who was pulling the strings?
You have asked, I still have you on YouTube. You've tried so many times in 2018 to get some information from the current Prime Minister. Who was behind 1987 in terms of the politicians? Probably you should ask him again. And we need to ask now about the mutiny. The mutiny in 2000.
Let me ask you about '87. So you didn't know?
I was not even aware of.
You were just taking orders. About in 2000. Because 2000 there was as far as I can recall, May 19th, 2000. It happened around 10 a.m., around after 10 a.m. A group of soldiers, about 7 or so, George Spade, they went into Parliament Complex. We were there, and we were reporting from the gates of what had happened because gunmen had come to the gates. And then we had 56 days of people trying to figure out what was going on. Now, the military came out after a few days, after we had Shevula shot near Nasova, and then martial law was declared, of course, and the military came in. But there was a certain section of the military, of a few soldiers already there, and the weapons were from the RFMF. Did the RFMF know? You definitely were in a more senior position in 2000?
I was a major. I was in the middle management.
Okay.
But my simple answer to your question, Vijay, is we were not aware that this was going to happen. Whether our intelligence had it, I do not know. But I know for a fact that there was an inquiry conducted by the RFMF, and if I recall correctly, it was Colonel Tawakian Rao who chaired that inquiry. For me, most of the information that I get was from the proceedings of the court-martial. But again, those are at the lower level.
Do you still believe?
That was at the lower level, the means. But that is why I asked in the court-martial, where are the politicians?
Now going on to 2006, definitely higher up than major.
I was a major, and then later I got promoted to lieutenant colonel in early 2007 with the current Minister for Defense on the same day.
So December 5th was coming, to December 5th, 2006 for a while. You're calling on other people to tell the truth. Can you tell us what happened? And how come you were part of it?
I was in New Zealand, studying in Staff College. I was kicked out of New Zealand. If you want to know more, there was a Fijian officer who was given 10 days to leave New Zealand because of 2006.
That was you?
That Fijian officer was me. I was given 10 days to leave the country.
So in the middle of the coup, after the coup, you were in New Zealand. How long were you there for?
I was given 10 days. I left, came back, applied for leave. I'm sure most of us who were studying abroad, including the current minister for...
he was away as well.
He was away as well. And when we came, we were given leave. And then we started work around January or February the following year.
So when you came back and it was done, what was going through your mind? Because this was another coup that has happened, the military involved. What was going through your mind at the time?
I did consult a few people, Vijay. And in fact, that morning, I called the current minister. We spoke, and he told me about some advice that he has already been given. So I was given some advice as well. And then I consulted a few other people, and before particularly coming back to serve later on in 2007.
Do you believe some politicians and business people are behind the 2006 coup?
Again, I don't want to speculate because unfortunate that we are digging again the events of the past. I don't want to speculate, but that is why.
But you want to know the truth.
I keep insisting that we need to participate in the truth-telling part.
Truth-telling part,
and then the reconciliation as well. We need to.
What about those who are saying
just
forget and move on?
Sorry?
What about those who are saying just forget and move on?
We are all different, Vijay. We are all different. It would be good to some extent as well. Some have chosen to forget the past. But unfortunately, for some, they still feel offended, hurt, whatever. Trauma is something that will not just die a natural death. There are stigmas to trauma. And government has now come up with the legislation. And all that I'm pleading to government now is, let's do it right. And let's do it well. Because you have chosen to do that. And let's make sure that it does work.
Do you believe your former leader, Warenge Bainimarama, would be willing to come out and also take part in the process?
That is something, Vijay, that I have also raised, I think, in one of my previous articles, because I stand to be corrected in the very brief that we were given by the Law Society, the group that was responsible for, maybe not the Law Society, but the law reform, led by Rachel Tibanga.
Law Reform Commission.
Yeah, a Law Reform Commission. They gave us a brief, and one of the things that I asked is, okay, our participation is voluntary, but when some names are mentioned, because they also have some summoning power to summon people to come to. I don't know how that will work out, because the bill is still has just gone through its first reading. So, those are the things that we will need to look into if this has to work according to hopefully to the intentions behind it.
What about the drugs situation, the current drug situation? It's a real concern. We've had another drug symposium, national strategies out. People are asking for action and solutions. There's strategies behind how to reduce harm, how to reduce supply, how to reduce demand. What are your thoughts of it as the opposition?
Vijay, I've stated it, and from us as well in the opposition, we all have to unite as a country and fight this drug war that's before us. I have participated in some of the recent events in Nusori, organized by the community and the churches and Drug-Free World Fiji by Kalesipola Tambu in support of this, because it's one of the biggest threats that our country is facing right now. And for us, we need that collective effort. We all need to take ownership. No need now to blame each other, one another, but let's face facts. Let's accept what's before us, take responsibility, and work together because of the future, particularly of our children in the years to come.
It's the Army Commander had labeled it as a national security concern now, and based on what is happening. In the National Defence and Security Review Report also looks at the issue that it's an interesting point that's made there, that Fiji has been seen as doing peacekeeping abroad, but now we've got our own challenge, a major challenge in this drug situation at home. What are your thoughts about that based on what the review is saying?
Like I told you, I have not read the review in detail, but on our participation in peacekeeping operations, that's part of our foreign policy. Us being a small country, that's the relevance that we send to our friends and partners, although we don't have much to influence, but we stay relevant through our participation, not only in terms of domestic but regional and global issues as well. And we've had this reputation of our peacekeepers serving abroad all these years. But when it comes to the war on drugs, and there has been some questions on the involvement of the RFMF as well, my understanding of it, and perhaps Commander and the Minister and the Commissioner of Police are already talking on this. We have clear demarcations on the responsibilities, and there are laws that govern how these institutions conduct their daily work and operations and so forth. But given that this is a big threat, then we have to see how these agencies can complement each other, one another. And not only, I've stated this so many times, this is no longer a whole of government approach. This is a whole of society approach. That society, whole of society involvement is something that needs to be seriously considered as well.
What were challenges? You were the former Minister for Defence. The drug situation, dealing with the drug situation. What are some of the challenges that you had been through, and definitely maybe some of them continue to persist?
The challenges, Vijay, I would say One is our geographic layout, and we are used as the transit point for the bigger markets that are out there, particularly Australia and New Zealand. But at the same time, some of these has fallen into the domestic market as well, which keeps increasing. It's a challenge that has been there for quite a while, and this is something that I must admit. I look back at history, looking at Fiji. In the 1800s, we were just dealing with alcohol. Then 1879, we had the indentured labor, and that brought in Indian hemp, Marwan and two. And then 1978, goes back to 1978, was the first heroin seizure here, which was about 2 kg or what of heroin, and some about 20 kg of Indian hemp as well. And then, excitingly, come 2000, there was the big, about 1 ton, 351 kilograms of heroin here in Fiji.
It was bound for the Sydney Olympics.
And then methamphetamine in 2004. And now we're talking about 2022. This keeps increasing and becomes very challenging and sophisticated as well. They have the money, they have the technology, and we need to also catch up with this technology, particularly, existing and emerging technologies. That's something that we will. Another big challenge is the capabilities that we have. Look at our naval boats, only a few, just for maritime patrol, particularly focus on IUU. We have an open, porous border there. We don't have aircrafts, thankful to Australia and New Zealand. We don't have long-range drones. So we lack this capability. Satellites, we have to depend on our friends and partners. And there was another problem, Vijay, legislations. I've talked about good governance. And our legislations have some of its own challenges. I'm thankful that current government is continuing. We had I know that police minister has talked about the police and the RFMF Act. I think the RFMF Act is now already with Solicitor General, something that we did during our time, and I hope that that will be coming to Parliament soon. The Police Act, there was a problem in the Police Act, I hope you recall. Police have come up with a draft. It was during Rushat Tunrabu's time as acting commissioner, and then they called it a bill when they did the consultations. A bill is a parliament document, not so the draft that they had, they called it a bill already.
Which had very wide-ranging.
And we were targeted. We are turning this country into a police state and whatever. All the statements are still there. It was funded by Australia and UNDP. New Zealand and UNDP. That was put on hold, and I think Minister is picking up on that. The Child and Juvenile Act. That's a very, very sensitive one, Vijay, because children now, those that are involved in the drug trafficking, they know that our children are protected by law. And same things with the juvenile as well. But these are the mules. These are the people who are taking drugs, the innocent child. So that was a very sensitive one. And then the Pharmaceutical Act, because of the raw materials. You can go into YouTube and these were the challenges. And our capacities, to investigate, to detect, and then it's a problem of, I don't know how you want to call it, attitude, integrity, maybe corruption in the system, drugs that were kept as exhibits in Nandi, Namaka, got lost. Who else accesses them? It's the police. So these are issues within. Prosecution was not able to prepare the documents on time for the hearing. Another element of the justice system. So, these are the complications. They are reality, but we need to fix it. We need to fix it. We, in the opposition, we stand ready to work with government, and my plea to every Fijian, we need a whole of society approach on this.
There's questions coming up about, questions were sent about Ayaz Musa. How did he flee Fiji? Of course, he ended up and was convicted for drug smuggling, smuggling of raw materials to make methamphetamine, eventually serving time in Auckland, and he's back in Fiji. How he fled Fiji during Fiji first time, when there was an Interpol notice out for his arrest in 2022. How did that happen? You, the minister.
Vijay, I do not know how that happened. Again, honestly, I was not even aware until it came public and whatever, because there are clear demarcations in responsibilities as well. Every now and then I ask for briefings on the drug situation, and there's a special team that looks after it. And but with Musa getting into New Zealand, that's an immigration issue. With the Interpol or whatever, that's a police issue. They deal with it. Unfortunately, from the ministry and me as a minister, I was not aware and
not briefed on that.
Not briefed on it as well. Very unfortunate, but again, this is something that we will need to.
That's how deep it can go. Even at the ministerial level, people don't know what's happening.
That's the big challenge now, because when they have big money, where they have an interest, they can influence. So, these are possibilities.
Can even influence some in government?
Definitely. Definitely.
Do you think,
I've talked about
that had happened?
The likelihood is always there.
Do you think that had happened?
Sorry?
Do you think that had happened?
When it comes to government, you mean political or at the
any form of government?
Executive level.
Including political?
I would say there's a possibility that I don't have information if it's anybody at the political level is involved or whatever. But I'm just trying to point out the weaknesses in the process. I've talked about the weakness of the prosecution. I've talked about the weakness of the police, and those in
the vulnerabilities
in leadership in those institutions are responsible. And unfortunately, as a government as well, we were in government. We take responsibility for that as well. But how it happened, that's something that probably, and we can still go back and investigate all this.
My final question, there were a lot of questions about your stand as the leader of opposition on the FICAC commissioner appointment. Barbara Malim coming in. Of course, there's a process on how that's done, and the issue is about the Prime Minister talking about he himself planning to look at the option of a commission of inquiry, and the public waiting for that. From a leader of opposition's point of view, people want to know your thoughts on it.
Thank you, Vijay. I would again urge the Prime Minister to do it quickly. I've talked about good governance that is sourced from each political leadership. And underpinning this is strict commitment to the observance of the rule of law and respecting due processes. So government, in saying that they are transparent, they are accountable, should ensure that they do the right thing. I have nothing against Barbara Malimali. We want to promote our women in leadership positions. I've been a strong advocate of CEDAW, the Convention of Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. But she was appointed by the government. The government must take responsibility in terms of accountability and transparency. Observance to the rule of law, everybody is watching. Everybody is watching. So we must make sure that this is, and I urge the Prime Minister, let's do it quickly, to rest, for the benefit of government, for the benefit of, she becomes, I know that she wants to concentrate on her work, but she's being distracted because of all this. But government should be, the appointing authority should be responsible for all this, because again, that's not good for us in the long term. And I have stated that such things are so important because we want to entice investors into this country. We want to bring in more tourists into this country. So if we observe strict commitment to the observance of the rule of law, that is the stability that they want to see. And that creates the environment for more investors to come into the country, broaden the economic base, diversify our economy. It's good for us in the long term. So it's not just this case in isolation. It must be linked up to other key issues, because it does not resonate well with investors and of course our partners as well if we do not handle this properly.
Mr. Seruiratu, final comments to the people of Fiji, a message to the people of Fiji.
My final comment is, again, for us, we have some challenges in this country, but as responsible, patriotic citizens of Fiji, let's all take responsibility. Let's build this country together. We love Fiji, and let's work together on rebuilding Fiji to be a better place, not only for us, but for our children in the years to come. And Diwali is coming. May I wish all our Hindu brothers and sisters and all Fijians a happy Diwali, and let's ensure that it's a safe Diwali as well. Thank you.
Leader of Opposition, Inia Seruiratu, thank you again for coming to our studios on Fiji Village Straight Talk. And definitely, as we discussed, we expect you back in the next few months again, most likely with Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka. And as you've said, that you confirmed to be at the table to have a discussion with the Prime Minister for the people of Fiji. We'll be setting it up based on availability and time. Until next week, have a great evening.